So I direct commercials, particularly kind of crazy commercials. I'm someone you call if you want to do a shoot with an unusual animal or a big vehicle stunt. If you want to do something crazy like jump out of an airplane or even do something really nuts like film in zero gravity. It's probably the craziest thing I did, and I have made this like my whole personality ever since doing it. Now, as you might imagine, doing shoots like this takes just an enormous amount of strategy, but I don't know, I've always liked the challenge of planning. I enjoy it. In fact, the more ambitious, the better. No detail too small. But today, I want to tell you the story about what happened when my life's master plan, the one I shaped my entire identity around, when it imploded. How devastating that was, how lost I became, how it really shattered my self-esteem, and looking back, was the single greatest thing to ever happen to my career. Now, growing up, I wasn't anything special, no connections to Hollywood. I was just a kid with moderate asthma who fell in love with the camera the first time I ever picked one up. I found this photo of me and my twin sister. How cute is that? And truly, from this moment on, if you saw me bopping around, I usually had a camera in my hand, but my poor family, I just documented everything. Everywhere I went, everything we did. I was always looking for a cool shot or a cool angle. I don't know what it was. School just felt so excruciatingly boring, but you had to pry a camera out of my hand. So before long, I just started bringing my camera to high school with me. And soon my friends and classmates, even the faculty, all began knowing me as the video guy around campus. I'd ditch my classes during the day to make videos. I'd blow off my homework nearly every night to mess around with new video editing techniques. But you know, as sweet and romantic as this whole thing sounds, this caught up to me in a huge way when it was time to start applying for college. College was super important to Mom and Dad, who often impressed onto me with like the purest of intentions that if you wanted to be successful, that meant you were to go to college. So started looking at universities, even getting a little excited about it, walking through the film departments, the rooms full of camera equipment, imagining myself on a big set one day. But as my eyes widened, my heart sank, because I looked around and I did not feel like a competitive option compared to these other kids. I mean, I didn't have any kind of portfolio. My GPA was shaping up to be about a 2.4. I kept my hopes up, because I knew this is what I was put on the planet to do, but life just kept throwing me signs that this dream was not going to be in the cards for me, until one day, I stumbled across a news crew. I saw them with their camera and tripod in the neighborhood, so I ran up to ask them questions, because of course I would. And they said, we're actually looking for someone who has questions for our team in the studio. Do you have anything you'd like to ask them? And I sure did. In that moment, went a little something like this.
Hi, Joe. My name's Alex Bleyer. I'm 18, just graduated high school, and I'm dying to be a filmmaker. Problem is, everyone has a crazy story about how they got into Hollywood. So how did you do it? How did you end up on Fox News like you are? Do you have any advice for me, a budding filmmaker at 18?
If you want to be a filmmaker, go to NYU and take film. I mean, that's probably still the way.
Good luck getting into NYU and the $50,000 a year. If you can get in, you probably can't get into the film school.
Crush the man's dream.
Well, no, I'm just being realistic with the guy.
The hell was that? But you know, in fairness, he was right. I didn't get into NYU. In fact, I didn't get into any of my top choice colleges because I didn't get into a college at all. Not one. My parents were devastated. I was devastated. As all my friends are jetting off to explore their bright futures, I resigned myself to the reality of, I guess, okay, I'm not going to be successful. I mean, clearly I'm not the sharpest tool in the shed. I guess my destiny is to be kind of a loser. And I know it sounds a little melodramatic looking back on it, but the sad thing is I really believe this to a deep place. And it really affected my relationship with the world and myself for a long time. So what do you do at that point? Honestly, what difference does it make? Got a part-time retail job, a little small apartment with a friend of mine, and just began spending all my free time doing the one thing I like to do, which is mess around making videos of whatever. Kind of got into cars around this time, so we'd go into Malibu and try to recreate that TV show Top Gear. And there was no plan to any of this. There was no business strategy. This was just my favorite way to spend a weekend, laying on my stomach in the back of my mom's minivan with the door open, little rope tied to the back I could yank shut if I saw a cop, maybe avoid getting a ticket. And looking at this chapter in my life, I was feeling incredibly lost. But without any direction, my internal life compass stopped pointing towards achieving success and started to just be more about doing the stuff I liked doing, the stuff that was fun, the stuff that just made time melt away. I got pretty obsessive about these car videos, way more than I ever would have if I was balancing this with some kind of traditional path. I got really into it. I mean, I was doing it from sun up to sundown, and I loved it. But there was also this kind of unexpected, powerful clarity that came from living life this way. You start to realize that when you care about something enough, failure isn't a stop sign anymore. It's a detour. Looking back, this is where my success was built, in these hours, and doing anything other than this would have been actually a waste of my time. The reality is that there's a million paths to success in life, and I personally believe that any time spent investing in yourself or your passions, or even just trying to discover what those are, is always time well spent. I got really into these car videos. I got into them so much that I started earning some attention from my local car community, including some other local car dealerships. I started working for these little car washing shops, and that actually spread to some luxury car dealerships. I was doing video work for Aston Martin Beverly Hills, Lamborghini Beverly Hills. And after a bit of time, I got chances to do work for Ferrari corporate and Aston Martin corporate and Lamborghini and McLaren and Rolls-Royce. And I'll be honest, these jobs were not super high in pay, but they were so high in fun. I was shooting for the greatest car brands in the world. And on top of that, I was 23. I had an exotic car every weekend. It was a joke and also wildly irresponsible. I would give all my friends rides. Everyone knew me for it. It was a blast. As far as consolation prizes in life went, this was a jackpot. But life threw another fork in the road at me. I started breaking even with my retail job. And it got to this point where I either had to choose between saying no to these video opportunities or quitting my real job. And it wasn't that much of a decision. So at 23, not knowing anything about anything, I quit my job to be a full-time filmmaker. And you might think this was a real confidence-inspiring time for me. Exact opposite. I was terrified. This is the farthest off of any kind of beaten path I've ever been on, And I was a real filmmaker. I was barely making rent. I didn't feel like a filmmaker. I felt like 3 kids in a trench coat, running a lemonade stand, But looking back, as scary as this time was for me, just riddled with imposter syndrome, always feeling like I was one step away from getting found out, what I see so clearly now is I was liberated. Liberated from no path. You don't have any kind of expectation or timeline or checklist to adhere to. So when you don't know what you're doing, you kind of have nothing to lose. And I dove into my craft full time, like never before. Slowly, my projects did begin to evolve. There were little moments for me, I'll never forget the feeling the first time I went on set and I saw my name on the little clappy thing. I didn't quite know the term for it yet. But one thing that never went away was this feeling of imposter syndrome that I really couldn't let go of, feeling like I wasn't enough, that I was always one mistake away from getting found out. And I spent a lot of time being hard on myself, challenging myself to somehow get away with it. But if I fast forward to now, I've been doing this for about a decade, I'm really proud of the career that I've established. I'm doing a lot of industry-leading work. We're doing really cool shoots for some of the world's biggest leading companies, winning industry awards. And the biggest lesson I've learned from the last decade of being a filmmaker is that deep down, no one knows what they're doing. No one knows what they're doing. Those who lead, they're not the most talented or even the most qualified. People who lead are just people who are willing to make the best educated decisions they can each day and trust in their ability to figure it out as they go. And as soon as I realized that, suddenly I was qualified for anything. Suddenly I could do anything. But I still think about how much time I spent really beating myself up when I wasn't sure what I was doing. I wish I could go back to that kid laying on the stomach of his mom's minivan, hiding from the cops, and tell him that one day, dude, you're going to be directing police on what parts of the city to shut down for your helicopter scene, for your Fast and Furious music video. You're going to get to see your name on that iconic font. I wish I could tell that kid that the pro gear that used to really intimidate me from brands like Red Camera or Adobe, they're going to one day ask you to endorse their products. But more than either of that, I wish I could just tell that kid that one day, you're going to be invited to come lecture at the very institutions that rejected your film school application. But that's the point of all this. That's the grand irony of this career I have today, is that what I'm doing today, this career, is something I would have never planned for, because I just would have never thought it to be possible. This is so far beyond any dream I ever had when I was touring those colleges. I think, truly, raise your hand right now if you've ever conjured up a little 5-year plan for yourself. Ever. Just an idea in your head. A lot of us have. There you go. Keep your hand up if your life today involves people and experiences and opportunities you would have never imagined 5 years ago. Yeah, because that's how life works. And I know it sounds a little like a fortune cookie, but there are so many doors waiting to open for you that you can't even imagine right now. So I'd like to end this talk with a message that I needed and hopefully someone out there needs as well. To anyone in the audience who's maybe feeling a little bit lost, like they've maybe lost their way or they're behind where they should be. I want you to know that I've been there, and eventually at some point in life, we all find ourselves there. And don't get me wrong, there is nothing worse than that feeling of being in between chapters in life. It sucks. It's like the most uncomfortable thing. Everything gets weird and untethered. But I ask each of you, I beg of you, to just please remember to be kind to yourself along your journey, because so often in life, the best path forward, it isn't the one you planned on. It's the one that you never saw coming. You got this. Thank you.